What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young, and I'm gonna use young because he's been in the profession, close to 8 years now, on year 8. So still young in that way. Bright assistant coach. He's been assistant coach with a tremendous work ethic. Great talent evaluator, so he definitely knows talent. Excellent teacher. Definitely skill development. Ability to relate to student athletes. And he's a native of Eastville, Virginia, which is in Northampton County, Virginia. Agent Ace Custis, and that's the last time you'll hear me call him by his government name. I know him as Ace. I remember him as a freshman in high school. I had a chance to play against him in high school and follow his career up to Virginia Tech. Actually, when I had a chance to move back to the area and coach back at home at Old Dominion, we lived in the same neighborhood. So it's just interesting how that works. And, I want to read a little bit about his bio before we bring him on. Like I said, he's a native of Eastville, Virginia, played at Northampton High School before going on to Virginia Tech, where he graduated in 1997, had an outstanding career, one of 3 guys to score over 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds in school history. Also played professionally after that. He had his jersey retired, so he's only one of 4 guys to do that in school history in the jersey up in the Raptors. Played professionally in Asia for 12 years and 3 years in the States. So 15 years total playing professionally. Comes home for a year, and this time he still loves basketball. And so he coaches. He goes to Virginia State University as an assistant coach, 2013-14 season, before going to University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is on the eastern shore of Maryland. Close to home for him, even though he's a native on the Virginia side, and he coached there for 5 years, and then he got a chance to come back home, and he's at Virginia Tech, where for the last 2 years in 2019-20, he spent time as the coordinator of basketball relations, and then he's presently now, starting in September, he's a special assistant to the head coach. I want to introduce a longtime guy. I mean, that was 1989. So, I mean, you're talking about, more than 32 years ago now. I want to welcome to the show, Ace. How you doing, Ace?
Man, I'm doing well, Lamar. I appreciate the introduction, man. I thank you for having me on the show tonight.
All right, man. Well, look, we came on to get you unmasked, and I know I said some good things about you earlier, and I truly mean a lot of them. But you had a long professional career, and it's you played for 15 years, and so now you stay home for a year, and now you jump right into it. You go to Virginia State, and you can even talk about the Maryland Eastern Shore days, whatever one you want to talk about. But there's no handbook to being a college coach. Like, tell me about that first day, the first week, even the first month after things are done with human resources and orientation, like, especially like no one gives you direction. Because you think you know what it is, but until you get into it, you have no idea. Talk about that.
I knew all my life I wanted to be a coach at some level, whether it be high school, college, or the professional level. I knew I wanted to be a coach. And at an early age in high school, I always tried to pay attention to details that the coach was instructing us to do and carry out on the court. And as I continued to play basketball and grow and learn the game and study the film, I was like, this is something I really wanted to do as a career and pass on some of the knowledge that I gained throughout the years as a professional player, pass it back on to the young and the upcoming basketball players. And when I first got into coaching, like you just said, there's no blueprint. It's just like being a parent, a new parent. When you have your first child, there is no booklet to tell you really how to raise that child. That long hours of waking up in the middle of the night, monitoring that child, feeding that child, nurturing that child to become a outstanding kid in school and been an outstanding kid in the society, in the community. There is no blueprint. You try to emulate your parents, you try to emulate some people that you may look up to, and you try to steal a couple pearls from everybody. And that's how it is in basketball as well. You try to find a mentor early on and try to get a couple nuggets here and there from different coaches that you played for previously. You try to steal some things from them and, instill some of those things that they taught you into your players. But the everyday job as an assistant coach, it was kind of shocking to me. I thought, as a player, you get up, you go to the gym, you practice, you train, you get ready, you go back home, then you come back the next day, you get ready for a game, you try to go out and execute what coaches instruct. But as a coach, the hours are very demanding. There's hours and hours of film study. There's hours and hours of practice preparation, executing practice, and then following up, trying to learn and see what you can do to improve from what you had going on in practice throughout the day. Then when it comes time for games, you go and break down that film. You might see one game that you played numerous times, trying to learn ways to improve your team for the next outing. So there's a lot of man hours going into the daily office and on court part, not to mention the skill development, trying to make guys better. And then almost like a father figure as well. I mean, you got to have an open door policy, and your students come in throughout the day. You can be in the middle of a cut of a video or edit of a game, and a player come in and want to talk about life. And you got to really stop what you're doing and have open ears and sit down and have a conversation with that student athlete. That's only the on-campus, in-person thing that goes on. That don't go to say the recruiting aspect. When you're out on the road, the hours and the miles that you travel, trying to, find that talent. You be hours and hours and miles on the road, and just to come away with some notes on a player that you may not even have a chance in getting. And I mean, that's a lot of hours and time. And then being able to bring the family and the actual job together, having an understanding family. I'm married of 18 years, and my wife is very understanding, very supportive. And having a strong support system away from the game and away from the office, I mean, it's very important. And these are things I didn't know when I got into the coaching business.
Yeah, that's great information, and I hope these young kids understand, or even older guys who plan on getting into the business. You got to understand that we're gonna revisit that, and you're gonna answer it even better when I ask you later on the question. But I'm gonna go to the next question. You talked about recruiting a little bit. You just touched on it, but we all know recruiting is the lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players. You want to get good students. It don't have to be a great student, but it got to be a guy who cares about wanting to get a degree. And then you got to get a good person. You get those three, it's perfect. So when you talk about recruiting, what was your best and worst recruiting stories? Because that's going to tell you how successful you can be or will be by just recruiting good players. Talk about your best and worst recruiting story.
Not to mention any names, but one of the best recruiting story is when there's a player you don't think you can really get, and you start to pursue him. You start to, find out who his contacts are. You start to really comb through his life and get to understand and communicate with him on a daily basis. And when that player finally commits to you, that's one of the most rewarding feelings. When you can go to your head coach and say, Coach, the job is done. We get him on campus. He's coming for a visit, and he wants to come to your university. I've had several of those occasions happen, and that's very rewarding. I've also had the tail end of I was on the opposite side before. I thought I really had a player, and I was telling Coach, he's coming. I mean, he's a lock. At the last minute, another school came in and kind of scooped him away from me. And I had put numerous man hours into it. And I had a relationship with his family, his friends, and I really knew him from years ago and wasn't able to get it done. So the competition and competing with other universities, sometimes that's a challenge. But when you're able to land that recruit, I mean, it's so rewarding.
So true, man. So true, and that's what people don't get. Like, it is very rewarding when you can land them. Now, and I ask you this, like, you talked about it. That's why I said I was gonna come back to this. You 15 years as a professional. Now you talking about I won't get into coaching because this is what you've always wanted done. What did you have to sacrifice? Because your wife, with you got your kids, your sons, like, but what did you have to sacrifice achieving your current level of success? Because you had already been away, or you had been 15 years of being a professional. Now I want to coach, so you're away again. Like, talk about that.
I think the biggest sacrifice is time away from family. That's the number one sacrifice I've made. I love the game so much, and my wife is so patient and understanding that she works with me, and my kids understand my vision and my dreams of being able to be around the game that gave me so much. And actually, for me, it doesn't even really feel like a job, because when I'm around the game, I'm in the gym. I mean, I could be in the gym recruiting at an event, and I could be in the gym 10 hours, and it seems like I was there a couple hours because I enjoy the game that much. And just being in practices and in the office, I mean, it's relaxing, but then I'm also sacrificing my time away from my family. You know, when I was playing professionally, I was gone sometimes 8 months out of the year, and that was hard. But at least now I do get to come home several times. Well, we travel, but it's not as much as me being overseas.
I mean, I feel you on that, man. Like you said, family, sacrifice, those times. I mean, that's what people. I mean, you spit more, information out to people, and I hope they understand that. Like,
yes,
that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing, man.
That's for sure. Like you say, like even anniversaries, birthdays. When you got a game and it's an anniversary or it's a birthday, and you scratching your head, and luckily for FaceTime and ways to communicate, you can't be there physically, but they understand where your heart is at.
So true. That's what you said. Understanding wife, and that's the perfect. Trust me, I know I feel you on that one.
Yes.
Scouting, and we know that scout reports, man, those are huge. And you stepped in day one at Virginia State, at UMES, and we all know this too. Like as much as you invest your time into scout reports, because people don't understand, like, you're watching 6, 7, 8 games, getting the team ready. It's your job to get them prepared to try to win the game. And so as much time you put into it, you expect them to like lock in and be focused. But we also forget as coaches, like, they have a lot of stuff going on in their life. Like, they got to go to class. I mean, it could have been the girlfriend, or something could have happened. Like, but we like, we want them to be like us, but really they can't, because we've invested so much time. And you're giving information to the coach, and you like, coach, I think we should do this or do that. And, we got this kid that's struggling shooting. So he's struggling shooting the ball. And then all coach remembers is, he somehow twists the words around himself, and the guy makes 1 or 2 threes in a game. He turned at you and said, I thought he couldn't shoot. And you like, coach, I never said that. I said he's struggling. He's 2 for his last 30, but I never said he couldn't shoot. So, and you can always tell whose scout it is, because who's standing up and jumping, and, there's so much invested. But talk about your best and worst scout reports you may have had over the years.
I remember when I was at UMES, and we was coming to play Virginia Tech. And it was a player on Virginia Tech that he wasn't known to be a shooter. He didn't shoot the ball that well. He didn't shoot many threes. So I said, coach, we're going to go under these screens. We're going to make him shoot the ball. And he was 4 for 4 from 3 that game. And at halftime, coach looked at me and was like, Ace, you said he couldn't shoot. I said, coach, he didn't shoot like this before. And now, that 4 for 4 is in his record book under his name, because he was 4 for 4 that game. And I mean, he had a great night that night shooting the ball. And, even when I see that player, I joke with him about it. I was like, man, you almost cost me my job, man, because I gave a bad scout that game. It does happen. Sometimes you give a scout, and from watching hours of film what works and what doesn't work, what other teams did. and you try to emulate that, and hopefully your team can execute what you put together. But there's times that players go out and prove you wrong, and it's their night. I mean, they throwing the ball into an ocean, and everything is working. But what I did learn over the years when I'm doing a scout now, instead of saying he can't shoot or he does not shoot, I say he's a Division I athlete. He's a capable shooter. So it's all about the wording. He is a capable shooter. That way it covers me.
I mean, no, that's that's dead on though. Like terminology, wordplay is very key when you're dealing with the coach and the player. Because like you said, you telling the player one thing, and as soon as they hit, what they did, look over to the bench like, coach, you said, so wordplay is so key, man, when dealing with scouting reports. I really believe that. Yes. Like, what's the biggest challenge? You've been in it. This is what, year 8 now in the coaching. Like, what's the biggest challenge you've experienced since you've been in college coaching?
I think one of the biggest challenges early in my career was the connections. A lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not your experience sometimes. It's all in who you know. And sometimes when I was trying to move up and maybe research another job opening or something like that, I was getting overlooked sometimes. And then when I first got into the game, I would reach out to some coaches and they'd be like, oh, where have you been? We didn't know you was interested in coaching, because I had played professionally for so long. And then there was a stigma that professional players doesn't want to work. They don't want to put the man hours. They think everything is supposed to be given to them. And I'm totally opposite. I had to work for everything in my life. Even as a player, I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't the most gifted. All my success came from hard work. And I just wanted the opportunity to prove to a college coach that I could be on his staff and be able to contribute to his vision. And when I first got into the game, Lonnie Blow gave me the opportunity to join him at Virginia State and be a part of his staff. And I learned so much from Lonnie Blow. And I'm so thankful for having him be one of my mentors early into the game.
Lonnie is a great guy, man. Like, I had a chance to, right when I was coming into Old Dominion, but I've been knowing Lonnie back to the days when he was at Granby, man. So that go way back, So I asked this question, like, and I've seen you, like I said, it's, just knowing of you from when you were a player. This goes back to the high school days. Now you're professional. Then you get into the college game, and like you said, like there's people stereotype former professional basketball players for some reason. And I'm gonna ask, this is more of a personal one, is like, do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? Like, what are they?
I think sometimes people take my niceness it's not a positive sometimes. They trying to overlook me because it takes a lot to get me upset. Sometimes I'll bite my tongue in certain situations, but I guess that's maybe, it's not a weakness in my eyes, because I feel like I'm strong in any situation and I can get my point across. Maybe I'm not confrontational enough in some situations, but that's not who I am. I feel that there's a better way, in several ways to skin a cat, as they say, the old saying. So not really being overlooked, but sometimes misjudged.
I like that. Like, misjudged. That's a great word. Like, like I said, people can think what they want. I know what you can do. And I'm glad you had a chance to express that so people understand, about you a little bit. We're all educators in this business. It's like that's what we are. We're teachers. Like, the basketball court is a classroom. You're always educating on the court, off the court. So I ask you, like, what do you try to teach or educate to your players besides basketball?
I always tell players, man, use basketball as long as you can use it. Whether it's to be the best college player you can be, to pay for your college education, or if you can even use it to get a head start financially playing professionally overseas, whether it's overseas or in the NBA. Take basketball as long as you can and use it as long as you can to get to some place that you want to go. Maybe you want to travel the world. If you want to go overseas and travel the world and play in different countries, there are opportunities out there for that as well. But I try to tell them you have to be a student athlete first, because you have to get your degree. Because there's going to come a time when, you know, as they say, Father Time is undefeated. You're going to have to put that ball down, and you're going to have to pursue something else in life. And you're going to have a degree to have a level playing field in life, no matter what your career choice may be. So I always tell them, you know, take advantage of that, get your degree, pay attention in the classroom, and learn from each person that you encounter. When you stop learning, you stop growing.
That's awesome stuff right there. Nice nugget that's dropped right there. You know, stop learning, you stop growing. What are your best and worst memories in coaching, man? What is that?
I think some of my best memories, for me, it's the small things, whether it be in skill development, and we work on a move over and over countless times. And when I see a player go out and execute that in the actual game, and to see his smile, like, yo, it did work. My hours of skill development is paying off. To see the growth in his game on the court, I mean, that is so rewarding to me. Some of the bad memories are some of the losses, some of the tough losses that I've experienced throughout the years on the sideline. And sometimes, no matter what you do to prepare, you don't control the outcome. You can have the team ready to go out and execute the game plan, but sometimes the other team might be that night, and you come up short. So a lot of those times, man, it kind of weighs on me. And I have some games in particular that sits on my mind. I'm like, well, if I had did this in the scouting report, if I had said this, maybe it would have came out different. And sometimes it's hard to let those games go, and they come back and always revisit you when you're thinking about some of the games that you played in, or not played in, but you have coached.
Yeah, a lot of restless nights, because you keep playing that over and over and over in your head. I trust you. I've been there. Yeah. Now, I mean, I will probably know, and I'll, you know, I'm gonna ask you, like, what was the most stressful situation you faced since you've been in coaching?
The most stressful situation I experienced was my last year at UMES, when the head coach informed us that we was not going to have the contract renewed, and they was pursuing another coach. And then when the new coach came in, he was bringing in his own staff. And the hardest thing for me was going to tell my wife that our time at the University of Maryland Shore was coming to an end. I have to find another opportunity. And the unknown in between jobs was kind of stressful. I mean, you would never known it by looking at me or hearing me talk, but it was weighing on me a little bit, because this is how now I feed my family. This is now how, you know, my kids see me going on the grind of work to be a provider for this family. And the unknown, the next opportunity, I mean, that was kind of stressful.
Definitely can put some stress when you say the unknown. That is so true. Now, I'm gonna talk about a little bit off the court here. Like, what's the strangest, maybe the weirdest thing, we don't have to name names, that a player has done outside of the basketball court?
The strangest thing that a player has done?
Because I'm sure you saw some days in Asia and stuff, yours, but like, is there anything you like, yo, I can't believe the player actually did that? Like, one of the guys you've coached over the years, you just couldn't believe that situation that happened.
That's a tough one. Let me see. Something that I might have. Let me think on that one a little bit. I'm gonna have to come back to that one.
All right, perfect. We'll revisit that one.
Yeah, revisit
that. I like asking this question, because if you had a chance to work for, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna probably say not even work for, but just to meet, sit down. You got 4 guys you can sit down, pick their brain, 3-4 hour lunch. You just want to know what makes them tick. You know, like what makes them tick in this business. or just in life in general. And a lot of times I say college basketball, but if it's someone else you want to throw in there besides just basketball, like who are those 4 people you would want to sit down with and talk about, about what makes them tick?
I mean, one of them, rest in peace, John Thompson. He was one of them. I remember when I was at UMES and we played against Georgetown, and he was at the game and he was sitting on the sideline, and I went over and introduced myself to him. I mean, that was a moment that I held on to because as a youngster growing up, I used to watch him on the sideline with his towel on his shoulder. And I mean, the way he was moving on the sideline and had his team playing extremely hard, I mean, I was kind of drawn to that. So John Thompson would be one. Rest in peace to another recent, John Chaney. He's another one. I mean, we played against them when I was in college. And to see him, orchestrate that zone back in the day. And I don't know if I would have wanted to play for him because they used to practice at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I think that would have been a stretch for me. But being able to pick his brain, that's another one. There's a lot of pioneers in the game, maybe older guys that I would look up to in the game right now. You have great coaches out there, but I'm appreciative for the coach I'm coaching for with right now, Mike Young. I mean, he's an offensive genius. His in-game adjustments, I mean, it's second to none. Actually, when he was at Wofford and we played against Wofford years ago, I was going through the plays and I'm like, Coach Bobby Collins at the time, he would only want you to give them 4 or 5 of that top plays. I'm like, Coach, all these plays look the same. I don't know which set to show you because he runs so many sets and he run them all the time. And now being on the sideline with him, I mean, he is a great coach, offensive genius. And I mean, I'm continuing to learn from him, man. So he's one of the coaches that I'll have to throw in that hat as well.
Awesome. I mean, I look at it and I've seen y'all to the last 2 years and I'm like, I'm not surprised because you did a hell of a job at Wofford. And so to see where y'all are sitting right now in the ACC, that's huge. And I'm not surprised because, like you said, his offense is huge. And as of recently, I'm looking at y'all defense. Like, that's like UVA type defense. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, so those numbers, blow you away. So I'm not shocked at what's going on there at Virginia Tech. And I'd like to ask this because it kind of people stumble a little bit. Like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
My week?
Your week.
I wish it was Friday. I wish it was the movie Friday because that's one of my favorite movies. And just sitting back, relaxing on a Friday, I wish I could do that. But sometimes my week is so unplanned, it's so unscripted. It depends on we're playing games or if it's the off season. If the off season, sometimes if it's a dead period, and when I was coaching, one of the assistant coaches, the dead period is one of those times you really get to enjoy a little bit and you can enjoy that Friday. So, I mean, I would like to wish everything was a Friday to me because, Friday after next and all those episodes.
I like that. You're gonna tie your favorite movie in there. I like that.
Yes,
now,
sir.
What's your favorite word or phrase that you like to use? Because I'm sure like the players are like, come on, coach, like you will use something. What's your favorite word or phrase?
I always, I call everybody a little guy. So no matter who it is, whether you're 6'10", 7 feet, I always say little guy. And then, when we're in practice, and sometimes I'm working with the bigs, I always say, you don't got enough rocks in your pocket. So I had to explain that to them because I tell them I got grown man strength and you just can't push me around the block. So I be trying to show them some of the old maneuvers that I used to use on the block. But I always say, you don't got enough rocks in your pockets, young fella. You need to go put some rocks in your pocket. That means you got to get a little more weight to them and hold themselves down like an anchor.
I love that. I love it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Don't take anything for granted. Continue to work, try to perfect your craft, and continue to grow and get better. There's always somebody trying to outwork you. So each and every day, you got to give your all. And, you know, as a player, they always used to tell me, you never know when you step on the court if it's going to be your last. And now with this pandemic going on, when we go to practice, we don't know if it's going to be our last practice or it's going to be our last game with the pandemic going on. So go out and have fun and enjoy the moment, enjoy that day, because you never know when it could be your last. I was at UMES and we ended up getting released. That was my last year there. I didn't know it was going to be my last year, but, you know, enjoy the moment and enjoy the ride.
Awesome stuff right there. What does success mean to you?
Success means, I mean, everybody looks at it different. I don't put a monetary amount on it. I put happiness, being able to get up and enjoy what you're doing. Whether it's reading a book, whether it's something that relaxes you, to me, that's success. Being able to do what you do and enjoy doing what you do without being stressed.
Once again, man, that's some really good stuff. Short, but it's powerful. That's what people don't understand. Like, you're not a self-promoter, never have been. I mean, like, you know, most people, yeah, you walk in, they know you 6'7", 6'8", you know, yeah, oh yeah, he's a basketball player, but you never brag about anything, even when you out coaching, you know, as a you know, you out recruiting and things of that nature. Like, you don't ever, like I said, self-promote, because this is a big self-promoting business now. But I'm gonna give you a chance. That's just me. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, what would you choose?
Humble, outgoing, and persistent.
Love all 3 of them. I love all 3 of them. Man, good stuff right there. Great stuff. What person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
The person that had the most influence on my life will have to be my mother. There's no athlete that touched me the way my mom did. My mom, as a youngster, showed me what hard work looked like. You know, she was working 2 jobs, selling Avon to be a provider for the family. So I kind of took her work ethic into everything I did, whether it would be in the classroom or on the court, and try to do the best I could do and making her proud. Because I felt like if I was making my mom proud, that any shortcomings was not to be looked at, because as long as I'm making my mom proud, I must be doing something right.
Man, wow. I love that. I love that. Well, I'm going to ask you this. Like, you kind of touched on it earlier. So there are people in the business, you said a little bit earlier, that stereotype former professional basketball players when they take a job in college basketball. Like, what was your biggest transition after playing professionally to a college basketball assistant?
I think the hardest thing as a player, I felt like I had more control on the outcome of the game, because I was actually out there in the moment with the ball in my hand, and whether I shoot the 3 or get to the free throw line, in that moment, even though a play was designed, I felt like I had more control. As a coach, I felt like I had to deliver a way that player could understand and try to execute what I was saying. And I had to have the confidence, his confidence, that I was saying and doing the right thing by him. Because once that player believes in you as a person, not only as a coach, but as a person, and respect you, he'll run through that wall for you. So I was trying to build relationships early into the business with my players off the court, so that they knew I cared. Because once that player know I cared, then he's going to listen to everything I say. And it's going to be the gospel to him. And he will go out and try to execute what I asked of him.
Wow, like that. Great stuff. All right, this is no pressure. Down 1, 2 free throws. Going back to that question. What's the strangest or weirdest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Outside of the basketball court. Boy, that is a tough one, boy. I'm going to get it, though. The strangest thing a player has done outside the basketball court.
And you were at UMES, so like I'm sure you have some characters.
I think off the court, trying to manage those guys off the court. You know, Coach had me over top of the guys a lot, and I know one time Coach told me, "Ace, this guy is your player. If he don't graduate, it's your fault." And that was pressure. He said in front of all the coaches, and he said, "It's your fault, and it could cost you your job." And I said, "Coach, I'm doing all I can. I go to his dorm, or his apartment, knock on the door, make sure he's up for class. I call him, and one day we was leaving lunch, and I called him, and he put the phone down. He looked at the phone and put the phone down right in front of the head coach, and we seen him down the hallway. And the coach really got mad because he seen the effort that I was putting into it, but this player just didn't want to be bothered sometimes. And he ended up transferring, but it was a player that, you know, I really couldn't get to. And it was all the players over the years, he was the hardest one for me to get to. And I tried my best. And then even when he left, I tried to stay in contact with him because it's bigger than basketball for me. It's not about you helping me win wins and losses. It's about me changing your life and improving your opportunities in life. And that's why I always try to follow up with my former players to see how they doing. Is there anything I can do to assist them and put them in a better situation? Because it's not a 1, 2, 3, or 4 year deal with me. It's a lifelong experience with me because I'll always stay in contact with former players.
That's great stuff, man. Like I'm gonna ask you this, like, and this is we'll end on this question, like knowing what you know now, and what would you tell your younger self? And this may be preparing you because you know you wanted to be a college coach. So this may have been the times that you came home for the summer or some things like that. So like, what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
That's an easy one. Because I tell all the young coaches now that want to get into the business, especially if they're playing professionally overseas or in the NBA or what have you, I always tell them, build a network now. So when you do retire, that transition will be smooth. During the summertime, instead of relaxing, vacationing, go work camps. Go see coaches and see how they move about campus and see how they have a camaraderie with our players, the relationship they build with our players, and build a relationship with coaches. Build a relationship with people that's already in the business. So when they in that hiring position, they know your interests, they know what you want to do, and they know your capabilities because they've seen you work during the summertime in those basketball camps pretty much for free. So, you know, I would have really reached out and touched some other coaches along the way during the summertime prior to me retiring.
That's great advice right there. Younger guys, listen to that, playing professional, they definitely reach out and try to get to know these guys as much as possible. Well, look, man, Ace, man, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked, and also, you know, representing the gear, man. Like I appreciate that, wearing it on the show.
Man,
I'm one of the first guests that ever done that, so I appreciate that.
I appreciate the gear, man. Like I said, man, when I seen you was doing the unmask and the thing that you was doing with it and how it was growing, I wanted to be a part of it. I ordered the sweatshirt, and not only did I order for myself, I got my 2 kids, my 2 younger kids, and my wife unmasked, and we all wear it, and we wear it relentless, man. And we're appreciative that you sending us that gear.
No, I appreciate you, man. Any words you want to leave with the people before we go?
Man, continue to support Unmasked, man. You're doing a great thing with this. And I'm going to continue to follow. Hopefully everybody else can continue to follow. And man, let's continue growing in all that we do in all aspects of our lives. And stay safe, man. Stay masked up.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. And good luck to you guys the rest of the way. You know, I'm gonna be following you guys. I think y'all doing a great job in year 2 at Tech. And you guys are doing some big things there, man. And so I want to thank you viewers for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.